Hey guys, I'll be right back when we get some coffee and then we're going to start. Apologies for being late. We're getting there. Good Lord. All right, we're kind of bonding. Hold on. Let's get this up. And wow, it's super aggressive, isn't it? Okay, that's a lot coming at you. That's really a lot coming at you too early in the morning. Let's get to this and open this and get you going. I apologize for being late. I switched gyms, not that you care. And so the other one's far away. And it's thrown me off by about 10, 15 minutes every morning. But we'll get there. Let's get into some of this stuff that I think is super important. I want to just start with the basics because I think it's really helpful right now. So I just want to start with Bitcoin because a lot of people are still trading this stuff. This thing's in a lot of trouble. And I think I'd be really careful of it today because you're setting up again and you're really setting up the lower end of that market. So I think you're going to see a retest down here today. I think you have a really good shot of that. Just be aware of that. I do think there's something to that. And I do think that you're going to probably roll right back down on this and at least retest this area a lot sooner than people think they are. You're starting to see this disconnect. I just want to point it out. If we drop this to a line real quick, and I drop this to the Qs, just watch real quick, and then we'll get to it. But if you start to see that there, and you're starting to see this disconnect here. Let me go out to a 4 on it. And so you can see it that way, and you can really start to see it. And it started like really right around that October, November, and I'm not really sure why, but we started flatlining and you just started falling like right out of bed. So you're definitely seeing that. And I think you're going to see more of a disconnect there. And I think that that's where this is heading. So just FYI on that. And it's definitely something that's on my radar. Let's get back with these blue light glasses. Super helpful. My eyes are nowhere near as tired as at night using these things. So for whatever it's worth. I think they're dirty though, aren't they? All right. Well, we're just gonna have to rock with it right now. Let's go here, and then we'll get into the futures market. So the one thing that if you take one thing today, your call wall 630. So I'm not saying you're not going to get over it, but it's going to take something. Now, maybe it's ASML's earnings tonight when we're sleeping, or STX this evening. But this is really what you're dealing with, and this is what you're going to have to assume. So I think that this is really important because you have not been getting above that. You've already rejected this area. So there's probably a really good chance of you rejecting that area again. And I would really pay very close attention to that is your, that's your call wall and you're rejecting it. So you don't really want to, sleep on that, to say the least. So just FYI, I put that right there. Click save. Yay. You really want to pay attention to that area. Allergies are really bad today. Not sure why. So let's get to the SPY for a second here, and then we'll take a look at that as well. And that gets you that 695, and you're doing the same thing there. And I just think it's really important that they didn't really raise that level yet, and you hit it and you're rejecting. So it's really an area that you want to pay attention to. I'm not saying you can't get over them. You can, of course you can, but they're there and they're vicious. So if you look at the past, when you're at these levels, you can see what we've been dealing with for some time. Look at it. And it's definitely something that is, let's go back up to the hourly so you can just see that area. And it's been a concern. So just, I don't know that it's going to go away. And I just want you guys to at least have that and just give that out there, since, I was super late today. But, and I apologize. But that's definitely on my radar. And I'll get to questions. We'll take a lot of questions today. Let's do the ES super quick. And we can cover silver as well, and we'll start over on silver. I do think it's important to note that if we go look at the 4 hour and where we are up and over, that we're kind of out of pocket here. Now, we're hitting a new high, and we hit a new high. So if I wanted to kind of just take a look at from that new high, what's going on there, you're not really out of pocket, right? So I'm using the old level, and the old level is probably not really where I need to be right now, considering. So if I just remove that and say, okay, from this level, is this the new one, since that's high? I don't have as much data, so it really kind of bothers me. But if I look at it, it is up there. If we go take a look at the 5 minute off of it, and we just see, I don't know that it's really something that, you can see where we're at. I don't know that it's something that I really want to play with. So it's a much smaller level, but I'm gonna watch it today. And I think what's interesting about it is I did hit this level and I did reject, and then I went over it. So it does tell me that this may be something that I want to pay attention to. It also shows me that the 69.45 level is definitely something that I want to pay attention to as well, like right in here. Right, we kind of, if we fall over, we definitely want to pay attention, and we're aware that you're near the high end of the band of this, as well as the call wall. That kind of all ties together, and then kind of tells you, like, well, where would we drop to, or could drop to? Like maybe that 69.10 level, like maybe, you know what I mean? Like maybe we could get there. So I think that that's a way to look at it, but that's definitely something that you want to pay attention to, and I certainly want to watch that. Now, if we go look at the NQ, they're going to fall right in line. But the thing about the NQ that's super important is if we go and take a look at it right in here, you'll see that we're not hitting that new high. Look at it. And so what we're doing is we're actually running over our level here, and we're running right into the value high area here. We go to that on a 4-hour, which is the same peak as this, because we can't really move that peak. You're hitting a level where you constantly reject. Like you're constantly rejecting there. So I think that that's super important to get. And I think it's really important for us to get, because I don't really, we got some really good news today on memory and the build out of memory and the price raising of memory. That's great. But one of the core issues that I see here is, as we're looking at this, you're into a level that you have constantly rejected. So, maybe you come up to like Wick City up here, like maybe, you get up there, and then, if you start breaking that, you have something, but you really haven't broken above that. And that's a big level. And I don't know what's going to get you there. Maybe it's earnings. Maybe it's, maybe ASML's like, yeah, we have these huge build outs. And it makes you wonder, with all the build outs of like Hynix and things like that, and Micron, like, do they need those machines? It's interesting times, but you're at the high of that and you have rejected there. And this would be the high if you decide not to reject there. And I think that these are really critical levels for somebody that might be looking at the market and trying to figure out what to do. And of course, again, we went through the ES, so it is what it is. Finally, I think we should do the silver. And when we start to look at the silver here, you can see, the fib levels, and you're clearly, fighting those fib levels. And if you do something as simplistic as just drop a value area there, and I think that this is super important for people, and most people aren't going to get this, but you're in your trading range. So like, there's your value high, there's your value low, and there's your point of control. So I don't know that you're going to, break the point of control. I don't know, but up in this area, if you're not watching those, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. So it's definitely something. And if you're in the private, we went over this in some pretty big detail today, and I would not play with those levels. I would not bet against me with those levels today, not the way that this market looks. So it's definitely on my radar, and we'll go from there. I would like to open it up to questions. I'll throw out a couple things that I think are super important. Micron is opening up a plant in Singapore. They're going to go spend 10 million on it, or 10 billion or something insane in the first year. And then they're going to spend 14 over 10 years or something. It's a lot of money. Like, they're pouring a lot of money into it, but it's all front loaded too. It's not back loaded. So they're ready to rock and roll there. I think that's really important. The other thing that I think is super important, Jacob might ask this because he always does ask these names, but you're watching Hynix and Samsung, and they are really raising prices. And they're raising prices on their biggest company. And I think that's very important, that they're raising prices on Apple. And of course, Apple seems to like that and go higher as they raise prices on it. So maybe the price point is not as high as they thought it was. I'm not really sure, but they seem to be, kind of giddy about that. And we'll go from there. Interesting, isn't it? So just such a layup of a trade. Anyway, that's where we're at. I want to cover one more thing. I started shorting these last night. I don't have anything on that I'm short in these right now, but this is pretty much a dumpster fire. Everybody's model. What do you got for me? Thank you. Everybody's model is the, give me 1 second. I'm sorry. So everybody's model had Medicare prices going up. Everyone's did. And I think that's very important for us to remember, that that's why you're seeing these names get absolutely crushed here. Now, of course, you also have earnings that missed on the revenue side, right? So that's not great. And you can see why the stock's down and trading down. But Humana, all these names, yeah, I mean, I closed these last night because I didn't know what was going to happen with UNH's earnings. but they're all dumpster fires. Like they're all of them are rolling over. CI seems to be holding in there the best, and maybe that's because they don't have as much exposure. I'm not an expert in this. I was long MOH. I couldn't get out fast enough last night when I saw the news. But MOH, CNC, like they all had these price points rising, on Medicare, and that's not the case anymore. So it's very clear that this is going to affect them, and they should probably stop talking on that conference call because it seems to be only getting worse, not better. But any kind of rally into those, I'm going to be a net seller. So we'll get to it. Let's start at the beginning, and then we'll go from there. Give me one sec here. And I'll talk fast so that I can get through everybody. VIX options, rare earth dip. I think you need to be super careful of the rare earth dip. I think there's some stuff here that doesn't make a lot of sense. So if we take a look at the rare earth dip, right, I think it was very specific names. But first off, they just shellacked MP. And this kind of stuff always concerns me when I say it. Like, it's just concerning. And the reason this is cleaning them, like this is just not working. This is making me sad. The reason for this is the amount of selling is it's excessive, and it's fast, and it's like the first hour, and like, man, when you have bars like that, it's really hard to come back from that because you don't know where everybody is. And I'm not saying they can't trade up, but you really got to watch that stuff. CRML, like these are candidly, they're reversal bars. Now, how much they stay down, I don't know, man. You never know with any of this stuff. You never really know with this stuff, like how much do they stay down? I don't really have a clue on that. I think there's a lot of volatility, and I think people are like a cat in a hot tin roof with a lot of this stuff. So to me, yeah, that's really how I see it. Personally, when I look at things like this, even these names like SATS, ASTS, Rocket Labs, all we're doing is cycling through. So you have to think about what's really happening in the market, right? So, and I'll tell you where I'm going with this because I think it's important. We've been going sideways, and now we're hitting the call wall today. And all while we're doing this, you're seeing this happen. So it's like, oh, it's time to buy. It's time to buy the stocks. Oh, it's time to get out of the stocks. Oh, they're finally buying the cloud names. They're bouncing, right? Oh, it's time to buy. It's time to buy the UFO names. Okay, they're bouncing. Like we're constantly rotating as the market's non-trending, the NASDAQ's non-trending. I don't think that's going to change. So when you start to see things like MP fall out of bed or CRLM fall out of bed, Newmont, any of this stuff that started looking like really weak, you have to ask yourself the question of, do we find ourselves in a position where these things are going to top out? So when I see something like XME look like that after running, that's a control bar. Like that's a and I'm using this, not the basic materials, but that's a control bar. So to me, that's a black, and it's a black Marbuzu at the top of a chart. I don't usually play with that. To me, that means just like hands off on those names now until they figure out what they want to be. It doesn't mean that those names like CDE or HL, like they're not, I'm going to go over all of them because you guys are going to ask. It doesn't mean that they're not going to come back, but you have the hopers and the dreamers, right? Like they're all going to hope and dream for one more day. Like, oh, maybe we'll get my bounce and I'll be able to get out, and we all know how that works. They wind up in the basement eating Hot Pockets. So like, I don't think you want to chase them. I think like, just let it all burn and then just stay out of the way and then just come back. Or have a core position, and then when it gets cracked, then you buy more. But I wouldn't be chasing that stuff. Like they're telling you they're telling you on that side that they're exhausted. It's up to you to listen to it, right? That's how I view that. So I hope that helps. What's up, Kev? Yeah, I think it's super. I think there's a couple things that are super interesting. First, with Boeing, um, obviously, I don't know. I'm not on the call. I didn't listen. I don't know how they're reporting. It looks like they took a huge write-off or sold something to get to that number. I would have to look at guidance. So I haven't gone through the call yet. I usually do listen to Boeing's call because I want to see the build out, but I have not. So there's that. So just please, I haven't listened to it. So take what I'm saying, with a grain of salt. Let me just go through this for 1 second. GM tariff costs are going to be between $3 to $4 billion. So I do think that IntelliTherapeutics climbs after FDA lifts hold on phase 3. That's interesting. If anybody has the symbol for IntelliTherapeutics, throw it in the chat. So I have to listen to the call and kind of go from there, because right now I'm just giving you like what technically you need to hold this level. What's a great thing to do today with Boeing? Sell calls, sell puts, because the implied vol is so great, right? Because you're going to get implied vol crush, but I want to see it open first and then kind of go from there. Apple's fascinating to me because Apple just got their prices raised today. Hold on 1 second. Let me move that over there. Give me 1 second here, guys. B of A is raising their price target on all those names. Glencore, all the big miners, all the global miners. Might want to watch that today. Got some movers out there, guys. I'm going to go through some of this stuff with you real quick so that you guys can see some of the stuff that you might not be on your radar. I want to get back to your question. I'm sorry, Jacob. You're hitting me with things I didn't think were coming at me today. I thought for sure you were going to hit me with some stuff, some other stuff. I thought for sure we were going to go a different way with this. But the Apple, to me, the fact that you're up on bad news is pretty darn telling. So they want to be in it ahead of it. And I'll tell you what you're seeing a lot of. And we started seeing it last week. And you might want to count it out. And you guys can take this on everything. See, we're Thursday. Start counting out 5 days on the names that you're looking at buying, because you're starting to see the turn 5 days out. So they're starting to buy 5 days out. You started seeing it with, look, Meta. Look at when it started to turn, right? Now you have earnings this week. And then you start looking at it when it is Wednesday, right? So today's 4. So it's 1, 2, 3. Today's 4, right? And tomorrow's 5. So it's 5 days out that they're starting. If you start looking at Microsoft, the same thing, right? 1, 2, 3, right? And then today's 4, tomorrow's 5, and I believe the earnings are tomorrow, right? So you're 5 days out on this stuff. So if you're interested in Apple and you count it out, you're getting there. And I don't know when it is. I'll tell you in a minute, what Thursday. So you're getting there. Maybe they're doing it a little earlier now because they're starting to pick up that's what they're doing. I don't know. But yeah, that's definitely there. Now, what's interesting is the FOMC tomorrow. Do you get a shot at 240? Does Itchy say something? You never know. Tomorrow's going to be wild. But I do think that, yeah, they went in and they got bad news today and people don't seem to care. Easy A, 20-year base. Metals, 40% metals and materials. So I could see why it would be doing this. I could totally see why they're doing this. The interesting thing about this, Jacob, if you think about it this way, right? So who's investing heavily there, right? Like who's really investing heavily there? It's China, right? China, right, is investing heavily there, right? Where's China being pushed out of? Latin America. All right, so China's being pushed out of Latin America, which they are. They got pushed out of Argentina by the Treasury Secretary when he lent them money, right? So that China didn't do it. You have what's going on there, the relationship. We made sure that their bonds were backed by US dollars. So we did a lot there to stabilize that current administration, right? All right. And then you go and take a look at it and go, well, what happened in Venezuela? Well, the billions of dollars that they put in there are now, wallpaper. Now you look at what's going to happen in Colombia in a couple of months with that election. He's either going to get, on board, or he's going to wind up in a Nike sweatsuit. So, when you start thinking about that, then China's probably looking at this and saying, all right, do we really want to play in US's sandbox, or do we want to solidify our investment into South Africa? And I think what they want to do is solidify their like if you're them and you're thinking about it from a technical standpoint, right? Like what makes the most sense, right? You like go to the path of like, where do you have the least friction and you're getting the most per dollar for your money? Like if you just think of it that way, it makes so much sense, right? All right, cool. So I could see why that's happening. I thought you were going to come at me with this today, for sure. EWI. I thought for sure that's the way you were going to come at me today. I can't believe that's the monthly. That's the weekly. Man, this thing's going to go so much higher. It's crazy. So much higher. I think it is, but what do I know? BKR, it just went straight up yesterday, right? And that whole space makes sense from a long-term perspective. Halliburton, Schlumberger. What I don't like about the space, to be honest, is that they're not getting any protection from there, are they? Right? So we're not really getting any protection. And it's something there. All right. Sorry. So you're not getting any protection there. All right. Sorry. I don't know. I get it, but I don't know. South Korea, I think, is going a lot higher. Clear winner if we go to war with Iran. No one. I mean, the clear winner, like that clear winner, if you go to war with Iran, the trades are you go long crude oil. I mean, that you just go long crude, which is probably already moving. Yeah, you're getting you're percolating, aren't you? So you go long crude. So if you don't trade commodities, you can look at the OIH, those names. But you trade crude. I mean, it's literally that clean. Like that's what you do. You trade crude. If you think that oil is going higher on this, that's what you do. You trade crude. You just trade the thing as close to it as you can. And then the other thing that will happen, because that's what everybody does, is they just buy defense, which makes no sense. Because it's not like they're going to run out and do it right away, right? But you would just buy defense and go from there. That's the trade. I don't think it's really getting involved with Oxy. You can. I don't think it's also just buying like one of them. Like maybe, you can, but, you start to see this stuff. And I don't know, would they have earnings today? They must have had earnings. They have earnings today? I'm wondering why you're down. That's interesting. General Dynamics. It's interesting. So how much is there? Just because of earnings. I don't know that I'd be playing RTX because it had earnings, because I don't know if that holds, or you're going to get net sellers in there. But crude, crude's going higher for sure. I mean, crude's definitely setting up here. So whether we go to war with them or we don't go to whatever, but crude's definitely you're definitely setting up here to go. There's no question about it. So I would just play crude. I can't be late today. I got too much to do. Let's just go through this. Good morning from North Carolina, 12 degrees. I had a jacket on today down here. It's crazy. I like it a lot. I own it. I think it makes a lot of sense. You're going to get you're going to get some color today on it for sure. You're definitely going to get color on it tonight with ASML. So, and a lot of people really like the MU news because of what's happening there. So they're going to get involved there as well. That build out, the Hynix build out, there's a lot going on there. So yeah, I definitely think it's worth it. So thank you. I'm not gonna be able to get to all these guys. I'm gonna just go through which ones I want to go through. Carry trade unwinding. I don't know. Everyone always thinks it's unwinding. I think that, I don't think that that's the one I want to play. I mean, you have a huge short position. I traded it yesterday. I barely got out alive. I made like $1 and I felt like a genius because it was such a hard trade. But, I don't know, Alex. I'm not really feeling that. I'd see if you can break through that 107 because you hit that hard. Like you could not get through this at all, man. Like once you got up to that level where you closed before earnings, those people, man, just go and look. Like they couldn't get out fast enough. When you really go and take a look at it, once you got to there, that was it. It was like, okay, I'm back to where I was break even before earnings. I'm break even before earnings. I'm out. And then you can even see this area. Like, look at it. Look at it. See how you kept hitting the wicks and then you got back to that. And then at second time, people were like, man, I'm gone. I'm out. I finally was able to get out break even from earnings. That's enough. So that's definitely going to be your nemesis. Maybe put an alert there, but you should do what you're comfortable with. But I'd watch that. What do you got for me? NTLA. You got a new profile pic? You're throwing me off. I don't know. What do you got? News? I gotta go look at news. You can make me go on the internet. Couldn't tell me what it is. Exhausting. Absolutely exhausting. And teletherapeutics. Oh, it's the one I asked about, and I'm bitching about it. Thank you. Jump site, let the clinical hold. You would think it'd go a lot higher, right? Isn't that funny? Ask for something and then complain about it. I like that because people aren't expecting that. Let's get that out there. I wonder where the call wall is on that. Oh man, my neck, Jesus God. Give me a sec here. So we can get some learning. Come on, little guy. Watch 15. That's where your call wall is. I mean, if there's more I can get on that. Is there anything more you got for me? NTLA. Then go from here and go into this and see if I can find something. Anything for me here? About 17 might be a problem. 17's the hedge. So 17 is going to be a problem. If you flip 17, you can go, but 17 is going to be a problem. It looks like. All right. Okay, let's keep going here. And I'm going to do this super quick because I have to jump. Apologies for being late. A lot of it is hello from Thailand. Hello from Miami. I don't usually trade on that. People want to, they can buy the natty gas. This isn't the one I would buy. The one I would buy is this one. But I own that one. In the face. I think people are trying to get ahead of some of these. There were some really positive comments out. I don't know why specifically net is. I'll see if I can find something for you real quick. Viral AI bot. There's some kind of AI bot. Extends gains, RBC positive on AI workloads. That's why. There's a AI bot that's the bee's knees. That's why. That's why it's going. Home Depot makes a lot of sense because lumber prices are going to go higher and they have inventory. Same with Lowe's. Hubs, maybe. Yeah, they move faster overseas than they do here. Yes, there's a huge correlation between the two, Meg. There's no metal that's more correlated. I gotta go. There's no metal that's more correlated. Let's do it. Yeah, it's insane, dude. It's only going to get worse. Annette, what's up, Alan? How have you been? I mean, I see the wicks. I'd make sure that you get through it because it's very clear to me. Whenever you see these earnings gaps, you got to be super, super careful, Alan. You just got to be super careful of that. You got to get through that. What do you got volume wise? Maybe everyone's getting giddy for software right now. I'd be super careful. I mean, maybe if you have something like this, because like you've got an AI bot and you're trading at a discount. So like now you're one of the cool kids and they could see inflows from institutions like, oh, we don't want to miss out on the next AI bot. Whatever that is. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what I'm even talking about? I don't know what these things. I have no idea unless their bookings are insane. Are their bookings up or down? How many pieces of equipment do you need? How many pieces do they need to create this stuff? Give me a second. All right. Okay, so that's interesting. So that's why. All right. All right. So it's not okay. So this guy's like one of these guys in the community like seems like an expert in this stuff. That's why I like the community. We have a lot of people. So you guys brought up net. So I'm just going to tell you what they told me just to share it. It's a net AI bot. Hold on one second. You're setting them up on spare PCs. It's one of the reasons why that it's not net bound though. People homebrew it, right? But they still want net because corporations are not going to net brew it. But mini Mac sales are surging because of it. So maybe that's why Apple's moving because of this. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so that could be why Apple's moving and why net will move. Subscription to rent. Right. So that's going to be net based. Okay, so that's why it's moving, guys. So say, yay, teamwork. All right, so you'd want to look at that, and that makes sense. I'm going to have to jump. Let me just go through this real quick. NTLA. Thank you, guys. Sorry, I yelled at J. I'm sorry, I yelled at J over it. ArcG, they have a huge percentage of that. Let's go through this. COLO, I own. I don't own that. I own this. What's up, Catherine? CloudBot. No, I'm not. I'm not. But I think that's coming. All right. All right, I'm out, guys. Make good choices.